My folks had given me, it was a metal, it was green, and it had some yellow in it, and it was a metal turtle. And you wound it up on the bottom, it seemed like. And you put it on the floor, and it would walk across the floor, and as it walked, the head would go back and forth. Like it was looking, but as it would walk. Well, my dog Yogi, which was a boxer, we had boxers. My dog Yogi, when you'd set that across the floor, it spooked him. He just started barking and running up and looking at it and barking. He wouldn't bite at it, he'd just bark at it. And that thing just kept going across the floor. And I remember that would make me laugh so hard. And I was maybe 3 or 4. I'm not really sure how old I was, but I remember. But that dog did not like that turtle walking across the floor. And for some reason, I just remember how funny that was, and it made me laugh. That turtle walking and that dog, it just, Boxer's a pretty good sized dog. But I remember that. That's one of my first memories of just something that made me laugh a lot, was Yogi barking at the turtle walking across the floor. I think my family's number one. We've got a great family, and I could spend a lot of time on that, but we don't have a lot of time. But I've got a great family. I've got good kids, and they married great people, and I got great grandkids, and now I'm working on a few more great. Right now I only have one, and soon I'll have 3. So that's probably one of the fun things is my family. And the second thing I listed was, it was so hard to become a PGA pro, and it took me a long time, and the system kind of penalized me more than most pros, because back in the old days when I got to be a pro, the PGA thought you ought to learn under another PGA pro. You ought to be an assistant under a PGA pro. And if you're an assistant under a PGA pro, and if you did all the work and pass all the tests, you could become a pro in 3 years. But since I was the big boss and I wasn't working under a PGA pro, and I was running the entire golf course, the PGA of America says, guess what? It's going to take you 6 years. So it took me twice as long, and I'll tell you one funny story about that. If you were an assistant training under a PGA pro, for every month you got a point, and you needed 36 points to become a PGA pro. So 3 years, 1 point a year, so 3 years you could become a PGA pro. But if you weren't training under a PGA pro and you're just doing it on your own, you got a half a point. So that's why it took me 6 years. So instead of getting 1 point a month, I got a half a point. Well, a friend of mine called me. He was a pro down at Bountiful, and he had an assistant pro, and it was during the winter. And his assistant pro, the golf course was closed because there was snow on the ground. And his assistant was helping out with Bountiful City, and he was down at the ice rink running the Zamboni. Now the Zamboni is a thing that smooths the ice. You go around the ice rink like before a hockey game and stuff. It grooms the ice. And so my friend called me and said, and his assistant's name was Kent. So this friend of mine called me and says, hey Wayne, how do you feel? Kent's down at the ice rink running the Zamboni, and he's getting 1 point this month, and you're running the whole golf course and you're only getting a half. And the people that I was training with in the PGA, because you have to go to schools and stuff, well, this Kent was one of them, and they all started calling me Zamboni because they heard the story. And so a lot of the people went through the school, and all the other pros would wonder, why are they calling him Zamboni? Turned pro till I was later. I didn't turn pro till I was like 40, and it took me 6 years, so I didn't become a pro till I was 46. So it was a good accomplishment for me, and I was tickled to get it. I want all my grandchildren and great-grandchildren to remember me for hugs. I love getting hugs, and I love giving them, and I love getting them. So I want to remember being the hugging grandpa. And then of course I liked everybody to know that I was honest. I was honest. Just being honest and giving hugs. That's kind of my goal.